Welcome back to Crescent City Community College to work on your Masters in the Maasverse. Our current course is focused on Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath by Sarah Janet Maas. Today we're chatting chaps 9 through 16.
Warning, while we may be your silly gal pals, we don't recommend listening to this podcast around little ears or ears that may be offended because we say bad words and shitty things. Now relax those shoulders, unclench those jaws, clench that clam, and let's get into it. Chapter 9. Bryce and Hunt were chit-chatting on the phone since Celestina was running behind. Bryce offered to be Hunt's emotional support star, but he needs to maintain his cool look in front of everyone. While on the phone, Bryce's star started to glow, so she lied to Hunt, saying her boss was there, but instead it was her haughty cousin Cormac.
Let's talk about Bryce's glowing star. So Bryce has an 8-pointed star on her chest. I think we should take a look at other times we see an 8-pointed star in the Maasverse, as well as where SJM may have gotten her inspo. In Throne of Glass, when Selena attends Yulma's service, it is mentioned the High Priestess has an 8-pointed star that was tattooed upon her brow. In ACOTAR, Nesta has a tattoo of an 8-pointed star on her back. And we'll get more into that the farther that we read into the series. But I'm just going to put it out there now that I believe that the 8-pointed star is more than just a symbol of Starborn. I think it's a symbol of the gods. Because the ancient Babylonians believed that an 8-pointed star represented the goddess Ishtar or Inanna. That sounds like a made-up word, so I apologize. Who was associated with the planet Venus. Her primary title is the Queen of Heaven. Ishtar was the goddess of love, sex, fertility, and war and justice. She embodied contradictory traits, ruling over sensuality, procreation, political power, storms, and battle-making, making her an important and revered goddess. When it comes to Venus, her astral emblem, the morning and evening star, reflecting her dual nature, of promise and danger. Now, one thing about Ishtar is there were many myths of her taking over the domains of other deities, kind of giving the queen of many faces. Now, let's get back to Venus. The disappearance and reappearance of Venus in the sky symbolize death and rebirth, leading to association with underworld journeys, which, with hell being such a point of focus in the series, it fits, especially since we have made the case for gods taking different forms in different worlds, i.e. Luna and Cece and Deanna and Talk. So with Venus being the morning and evening star, I started looking back at our notes from House of Earth and Blood to see what I could find. Danika means morning star. So is Danika a former god reincarnated? Something to think about.
How have we not talked about Danika's name meaning?
I don't know. We just had wrote it like one little line. We didn't even talk about it on the podcast.
What's wrong with us?
That's a loaded question.
Cormac was looking fit as hell with one L. He tries to tell Bryce that the star glows because their union is destined to be because he heard it from his oracle in Avellan. Bryce asks him to drop the whole engagement thing because unlike the rest of the male fae, she does not have a breeding kink. He tells her slutty, sexy daddy, the Thotem King, let her run wild for too long and she needs to basically grow up and act like the starborn princess she is. Bryce slams the door in his face, and I'm sure it was as satisfying as closing your phone to hang up. So the book says a tattoo of strange symbols encircled his left biceps, the black ink gleaming in the bright lights. Like, what the fuck? Like, we never learn about this tattoo. And I have more to say on this. But later episode.
So let's talk about the oracle. He said he was destined to unite with the princess who possessed a star in her heart. Okay, because I had mentioned earlier that Danika means morning star, this really got my brain thinking. Remember how they said no matter what, Danika will always be in her heart? And then when the Prime said that Bryce wasn't a wolf, he pointed to his heart. Do you think that it could have a double meaning? Like Danika is like part of her soul when that kernel is a part of Bryce's heart?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's like a little nugget, of course.
Okay.
Good point. Like, once again, if we wouldn't have even talked about the star, I wouldn't have even thought about Danika.
Sorry, Danika.
I mean, this book is a lot about her, just to clarify. I would think about her, just not at this moment. I am really curious about the Oracle, though, now that you bring that lady up. There are 12 around the world. each one bitchier than the last. The meanest of them apparently dwelled in the ocean queen's court beneath. So there are 12 walking the earth. The number 12 is one of the foundations of scripture. The meaning of 12 is that it symbolizes God's power and authority, as well as serving as a perfect governmental foundation. So let's connect 12 to ACOTAR while we are at it. So Ianthe was one of 12 high priestesses who together governed their sisters across every territory in Prythian. But I think 12 is more connected to Throne of Glass. Do you remember the 13? 12 of them yielded in Kingdom of Ash. So sphinxes in Greek mythology are cunning, deadly figures sent by gods to guard cities like Thebes. In Crescent City, oracles are sphinxes, and all of them had been called to the service of the gods. They have golden wings that shimmer as if crafted of molten metal. Hear me out. The 13 minus Manon, I don't care, it's not Manon to me. What if, when they yielded, because their sacrifice was so great, the mother granted them the gift to protect something bigger and sent them to Midgard? We are constantly saying that Throne of Glass is in the past, and no one knows how old sphinxes are. The witches, both Kraken and Iron Teeth, burn their dead at moonrise. After we learn this, Manon says, a full moon tomorrow, the mother's womb, a good moon to be burned, to be returned to the three-faced goddess and reborn within that womb. Since the 13 gave the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good, it seems like the three-faced goddess could entrust them with guarding something bigger. What that is, who's to say? Other than Sarah Janet.
Naturally. That is an interesting theory and point. It does make you wonder, like, just the title that they are supposed to like be serving the gods. When, remember in the first book, Hunt, they're like, stay away from Bryce to hunt.
Right.
Why? Now I'm just thinking that like the gods don't want those two together. Or are they controlled, or are the priestesses, or the oracles, excuse me, or are the oracles controlled by the Steri? Like, I'm just curious. So why they wouldn't want those two together?
I feel like it's the three-faced goddess. I think they are not destined to be mates, which we'll get more into. And that is the gods trying to interfere because they're not destined to be. But once again, I think Bryce is going to forge her own path.
Right.
So that's why
And
I think they were trying to keep them apart.
and especially because the way that she got all of her power, they probably weren't thinking that was going to happen, because she does forge her own path, and that's just the Bryce way. And I think that definitely affected their mating. So it's an interesting thoughts to have here.
But yeah, we don't know where the 13 went. I mean, we don't know what happens after the yielding. And so really anything's possible. And just the fact that the 12 lined up seems crazy.
I'm down for it. I'm down for this theory.
Who knows? We may not even hear about the oracles ever again.
That is also possible, but I like to think that this could be it.
If we never hear about him again, it becomes canon for me.
I will co-sign it. I'll take it.
Thank you. Hunt was thrown a curveball because Celestina was unexpectedly nice. She called a meeting of what was left of Micah's Triari, Hunt, Isaiah, and Vic, but they left her off the roster since she is currently out of office. She apologized on Micah's behalf for what happened with Bryce, and everyone's shocked because Micah would never. They plan to reconvene the next morning for when the others arrive. Everyone pauses. Turns out the others are Sandriel's Triari. They are getting sent to Lunathion since Ephraim has his own, and there was a knock on the door. In walked Pollux and Baxian, aka the Hammer and the Hellhound.
I know this is shocking, but I'm going to bring up the Melanoid Trend Chicken because we never talk about it. But when they were talking about, Vic, he said to spare her from a living hell. And yes, obviously it would be a living hell to be stuck in a damn box at the bottom of the ocean. But now this is the second time in just this book that hell is mentioned with the Melano Trench. Reminder, in Greek mythology, I'm just saying Melano. They go back and forth between Melano and Melanoi. But in Greek mythology, Melano was in fact an underworld goddess. I'm just more and more thinking that I know you're so worried about Vic and how she's doing. I think she's in hell.
Maybe she was rescued
I'm hoping so.
because we don't know 4 of the princes of hell's names. So any of them could have scooped her up. They were like, I like her. She's pretty.
She's got some spice to her, and I took her. Who's to say?
Just Sarah.
Chapter 10. New team powwow in the new Archangel's office, and guess what, guys? It didn't go well. All it took was Pollock to smirk for Hunt to tackle him to the floor. Back at Bryce's apartment, Ethan was being an unemployed free wolf. Unfortunately for Ethan, he couldn't be like, how about that drive coming in? He was now a bit of a loner and a one-man wolf pack. And I just really hope that everyone got that hangover reference. Otherwise, I'll be sad. So his plan was to just take it day by day and put one foot in front of the other.
So Ethan mentioned he had a soul wound, and it seems to be common with Aurelia. Because Gabriel had one when Maeve severed the blood oath. Urine had a soul wound, and somehow Kale. I was going to say shifters, but Gabriel is the only one. And then I was going to say Fae, but neither Urine or Kale is Fae. There are no mentions of soul wounds in ACOTAR, so maybe these type of deep wounds are tied to the land or the ability of the gods of that land, which is where we think Crescent City takes place.
Hunt kind of failed at approachable asshole, but luckily for Hunt, his not girlfriend, but girlfriend is cool as shit and essentially bailed him out, as well as put Pollux in his place. Celestina seems pretty cool too because she let him go. Baxian also seems like he wants to get in on the pretty cool gang because he was like, glad someone finally put a bullet in Micah's head, but time will tell.
It's like foreshadowing Inception here because Baxian is foreshadowing to Hunt and Bryce. Totally.
I like Baxian.
I do too. And you know he's a hottie. That's all I care about. Are they hot? Cool. Chapter 11. Therian really embodied fake it until you make it because he wound up in charge of the River Queen's intelligence. He was working on being a super secret spy and keeping things from the Riv since what? Since he was looking through Sophie Renast's email. Shout out to Declan for setting this up for him when he tracked down his sister's murderer. Therian snooped until he had to take a dip in the water or become a leggy loser for life. He was cutting it close because he found something that said Dusk's Truth, and inside it said working on gaining access will take time. Turns out it was a half-deleted convo with which we soon learn is Danika. Danika sent another email titled Project Thur with the body saying could be useful to you. Sophie cryptically replied, just did. I think it's a long shot, and the 6 will kill me for it. Darian knew she was talking about the Asteri. Danika then told Sophie, when you find him, lie low in the place I told you about, where the weary souls find relief from their suffering in Lunathian. It's secure. Sophie started a reply but never sent it. He tucked Project Thur and Dusk's Truth in his back pocket for later.
This has no relevance. And I know it's stupid, but I don't picture a 13-year-old boy. I literally picture Remy's chubby brother from Ratatouille, Emile, every time.
It wouldn't be like completely out of the realm
Right?
for him to be a chubby rat. Because I mean, it's Zootopia on crack.
Right. So, just, yeah.
That's going to ruin my vision of this child.
This poor kid. It just
That's why they
catching
can't find him.
strays that I'm picturing him as a fat rat. Like, he didn't do anything wrong, but that's how I picture him.
I forgot that rat's name was Emil, and I always just pictured Gus Gus.
Mm. Yeah. I also really
And Chubby
appreciate
Mouse.
you trying to make fetch happen here with the Riv.
Don't remember writing that, but I was like, so I confused myself.
You're like, what?
I love to just surprise myself, honestly.
Yeah, it's always a joy for us all. The Riv.
Therian ran to get into the water of the Eastros just in the nick of time. Now fact that Danica knew Sophie really blew a hot load on his mind. He had questions and needed to find Emil. When he was done being wet, he started scrolling his reports and saw a tiny human life vest with Bodgraven was written on its back had been found on a small abandoned boat in the Nelthian marshes. He checked it out. Definitely was a kid there at one point. No kid, but did smell human blood. Good news, though, it was adults. Bad news, there was an arm on the ground. Worse news, Sobek bites on it. Worser news, it had a light hole patch. You know, the crazy gal from the prologue, that wench. Ophian clearly sent their best because they want Emil too. He called his people and got them out there searching too because with Ophian and the Sobeks, no guarantee he was alive. So Sobex make me think of the Sobe drinks, and I feel like they look like the lizard on the label, but like with sharp teeth and probably more scary eyes.
Probably, yeah. Well, now you're saying that. Now I'm just picturing like Randall from Monsters Inc. This is so bad.
That's better than where my mind traveled after, because I was thinking the lizard from Frozen, and I was like, well, that's too cute with fangs.
Yeah. Well, and then also want to point out the missing arm situation. I just picture Jurassic Park like there's a cigarette attached to it. Remember when he was?
You know that they were smoking for sure.
They're like, God, I can't find this tiny human. Gotta light up, and then
like this fucking kid.
Then some Monster Inc. soapy ass lizard comes and takes it off.
I feel like we're making the Sobex too wholesome.
Definitely. I think they're very scary. But it's like how I picture ACOTAR, the fucking whatever worm, is like a fat. I literally.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called? The Midgard worm or whatever the worm.
The Midgard worm.
Yeah, it is Midgard. Okay. Well, I literally picture almost like it's giving the vibes of the fat caterpillar from Bug's Life, but like brown. Like this cute fat thing that's blind. Like that's not it. When I saw pictures, I'm like, that's not what I picture.
Recently on TikTok, I found a girl who does Lord of the Ring worm tattoos, and they're like these cute little worms with like, and so now that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, that's better than what I guess it apparently looks like. Not to me.
Just the cutest monsters in Lunathean.
We just love them, you know, for our Zootopia switch. It works. So I did want to bring up, Therian says he was taking his wave skimmer an hour north of the city to check the marshes. And at first I was like, well, fuck, that screws up everything when it comes to our theories. But then I realized he was talking about the underground city of the Eastros in the Blue Court. So it still could work. We have a very limited map that Sarah Janet has provided for us, but there's one thing that a creator made, and the Eastros kind of goes through the land. Well, I mean, it goes all the way through the land pretty far, so it could make sense. On top of it, it's possible that the map that the creator made wasn't 100% accurate, and it could have like a big tip. So that's what she said. An hour could still. So I just wanted to point that out of anyone who was reading it was like, wait a minute, you said it was this. And it's like, we'll see. Chapter 12. Bryce and Hunt hornily ate their ice cream. Bryce's scooter needs some work done to it, and so she has to get his lore and how he knows a lot about machinery and how Sandriel used to have him make the rebels' machinery not work during key moments. Moments?
Moments.
Moments!
Ice cream.
How he would make the rebels' machinery not work during key moments. They shift the subject, and Bryce tells him he needs to behave and no more fights with Pollux and Vaxian. They need to lay low. They wonder what the hell this Stary is up to by sending him there. Bryce really makes her point that she couldn't bear to see his wings get neutered again, so, like, don't be a dick. So a Reaper comes up, and I'm only saying something very shortly about Reapers because we will talk about it a lot later on. Reapers dwelled on every eternal isle in the world. The Bone Quarter here, the Catacombs in the Eternal City, the Summerlands in Avalon, each of the sacred sleeping domains guarded by a fierce monarch. I'm just noting this. And yes, we'll be talking about this later on in our coverage a lot.
Especially in book 3.
Yeah. But if you're reading along with us and you notice we're not talking about it, we noted it. Therian caught up to them and they went into Bryce's apartment. Therian needed some questions answered and wondered if Danika ever talked to her about someone named Sophie. He eventually tells them that he was assigned to look into Sophie Renast, a human woman who was captured by the Hind 2 weeks ago, but she was no regular a human woman. She was a cool human woman. Her and her 13-year-old brother, Emil, have full Thunderbird powers, which shocked them all, especially since they were under the impression that the Steri had hunted them all to extinction, too volatile to be allowed to live and were a grave threat to the Empire. But apparently one survived and bred because Sophie and Emil exist. Emil had been captured 3 years ago and sent to the Kavala death camp, but they were unaware of his Thunderbird gifts. Sophie went to the camp to free him, but was caught by the Hind before she reached safety. But Emil seemed to have gotten away, and all signs point to he went this way. Unclear of Sophie's fate, the chains at the bottom of the ocean were empty, so either she escaped or someone snatched her body. Therian goes on that he's unclear as why the River Queen wants them, but she wants them real bad. While he was trying to find them, he found emails between Danika and Sophie, and Danika had set up a safe place for them to go. Bryce was in disbelief, and because they seemed not to know anything, Therian was like, well, looks like you were all in the dark. Forget I mentioned it. Bryce was not having that and wanted more details. Therian asked if Project Thur, God damn you,
Love it when
she could write Thur, or Dust's truth meant anything to them. Once again, no dice. Bryce was not going to let this poor kid be alone, all alone out in the wild. She wanted to go look for him despite the Steri's warning to lay low. Hunt, I'll be a little wary. Rune walks in and wanted the DL and everything, which Therian was not a fan of. They all come to the conclusion that if Sophie is alive, the Hind will come running. She might even already be on her way. Bryce says she'll talk with Fury tomorrow and see if she has heard anything. Therian will be back tomorrow during lunch to chit-chat.
While Bryce and Hunt were talking to Therian, it says Hunt rose from the table and stalked to Bryce's side. His power shimmered up her body, electrifying her very blood of his nearness. And I really feel like it's showing how the bond that they have is different. Like feeling his power versus scenting him, what normal mates do. Just want to point it out.
I'm with you. Hunt and Rune don't want anything to do with this, but Bryce has to find the kid, plus find out whatever she can about Danika. Poor Hunty boy was shaken. This brought up a lot of bad memes for him and tried not to be mad at Bryce for wanting to help. I feel bad for him. They sat around the table and ate pizza and then got 2 more visitors, Flynn and Deck, where we hear a bit more about Rune's ordeal and how the Evelyn Faye and Valbarra are allies but not homies. Rune and the boys took place in a cave where they were told to get the Star Sword. There was a bunch of scary old shit in there, and the cousins went from trying to kill each other to trying to stay alive. Damn it! Now I am on a roll of I got staying alive stuck in my head after saying that, and this is bad. I'm spiraling. Flynn and Deck ended up in the catacombs deep beneath the cave, and there were blood-sucking spirits trying to eat their bodies. Rune saw in the center of the chamber the sword, so he took it and they all went running. Uncle Morven was not impressed that Rune had the sword, but it was good for the emo prince. Okay. So when Hunt goes, I knew this day would come when Bryce, well, that's what she said, when Bryce realized how obnoxious she can be with a princess title, honestly, as she should be. Because none of these FMCs take advantage of it. They're all like, no, I don't want it. But I would be a great princess. I think you would too.
Oh, it's like, when you give someone a microphone, you give them so much power. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, that would be me. That's dangerous. I mean, my name on Pokemon Go is Queen Kyle, so
Of course it is. I mean,
powerful.
we do have a podcast, so we have microphones and we take advantage of it.
We sure do. You guys are you're gonna like it.
We get Uncle Morgan's name for the first time. Morven. is a Scottish Gaelic name that means big gap, sea gap, or big peak. So time will tell why she chose that name.
Morven just sounds like a villain name.
It reminds me that Walt Disney was originally going to call Mickey Mouse Mortimer, but Lillian, his wife, was like, "That's a terrible name now." And like Morven gives Mortimer to me, like same vibes, like a boring villain.
Mortimer would have been an evil mouse.
100%. Like that's the evil version of Mickey. Morven,
Yeah.
Mortimer.
His alter ego. Not a good one. Chapter 13. Bryce got a call from her mom first thing in the morning with that mom calm voice on. Bryce plays it cool, asking a casual question when her mom asks about the wedding. Bryce, of course, is very unserious, but Bryce explains about a private meeting with Cormac, how he popped in uninvited, and how she is not planning on marrying him. Bryce gets a text, then tells her mom she has to go while her mom still chastised her. Hunt was not impressed it slipped Bryce's mind that Cormac came by the archives, but she was not impressed that she got a call from an archangel that he was in a holding cell. Bryce heads to meet Fury while her and Hunt put a pin in their rebel knowledge until later. June is there when she arrives to say hi. She asks June what they're rehearsing, and she lets Bryce know that she didn't get the lead allegedly because the outfit wouldn't fit her. She had an offer from elsewhere, but it's all a step down. She then leaves, and Bryce and Fury get into business about Danika. Bryce fills her in about Sophie, Therian, and the River Queen's hunt to find Emil, the alleged Thunderbird, Danika's meeting location, Ophion, Project Thur, and Dusk's Truth. Really just mentioned it all. Fury casually drops that Danika was a bloodhound. Fury asks if Bryce is sure she wants to dive into all this because it's kind of dangerous. But of course, Bryce wants more answers about Danika, but she truly is the Riddler, leaving so many questions in her wake. Fury asked what she would do once she learned the truth, and all Bryce could say was, "Pray to Cathona that I can accept it, I guess." While Bryce and Hunt are heading to the archives, Hunt asks why things are weird between them, when really, like, he's the one that's making it weird. It's almost like he's progressively getting more and more territorial, like something is going to snap into place for them forcefully.
Forcefully. And I do love Bryce, right? I get her wanting to help and wanting to find out all she can about Danica. I get it. But I also feel like she was just a little, I don't want to even say selfish, but like one track minded into diving into this without checking with Hunt. I know they talk about it a little bit later, but that male just got his freedom after 200 years of being a slave and doing having to do unspeakable things. I just feel like she should have talked to him about it a bit more. I love her,
Communication's key.
but I just was like, you gotta think about how he thinks about this. So Danica being a bloodhound, Fury says the only other secret I knew about was Danica being a bloodhound. She confronted me when we first met, scented me, and wanted to understand. Okay, this really feeds into our theory of the possibility of Fury being a descendant of Hell. I mean, technically, she could be a descendant of a lot of weird things like a Steri or something else, but I just feel like all signs point to it. With the Greek mythology, with the Fury and the Enris and Lord Thanatos, the mystery behind her of who and what she is. She even goes on, because people would pay highly to use the gift to kill anyone with it. Imagine being about to tell someone's true lineage, especially if that person is a politician or some royal whose parentage is in question. Princess of Hell. It's a canon theory for me.
I'm on board because I'm forever suspicious of Fury.
International. A mystery. Chapter 14. Celestina decided that Hunt and Baxian should buddy up at work. Baxian tries to make it clear that he hated Sandriel too, but Hunt felt like he was trying to rewrite history. Baxian was just jacked to not be stuck with Pollux and is hoping he digs his own grave here. Pollux is real pissy to be separated from the Hind. The Hind is headed to serve Ephraim, and the Harpy isn't a fan of it, and Baxian thinks that she would be a better couple with Pollux. Hunt was over the chit chat though and was like, "Don't talk to me unless I talk to you. Okay, bye."
Vaccine saying, I might have been a slave as you were, a nod towards his clear brow. But I had as little choice in serving Sandriel as you did, only I didn't make my displeasure known. Then he said, you never asked me why I was in her triary and point out that Hunt doesn't know him at all. He was waving a friendship flag like right in front of Hunt's face here. This may have added to like my hate for him a little in the first round of reading. I get that he can't trust anyone, but Vaccine was like laying out all the clues here, like laying out all the clues to being a good left and right. He was a good.
He was just a good, you know what I mean?
He was a good. And anyways, he was laying out the clues left and right this entire exchange. And then it ends with him saying, like, don't talk to me unless I talk to you. Like, damn, baby, chill. Chill.
It just and Baxian makes a comment that like everything about him is so surface level. And it makes sense knowing a Hunt's history, but I'm like, all the clues are there that he's actually a good person. And Hunt's like, no, don't believe it. It's annoying.
He's literally like, I'm your friend. This is him waving a flag,
I
not
got that.
like
Not his
me
dick.
fanning or
It
doing
wasn't
it.
his dick doing this.
That wasn't
Who knows? You just went spanning around. I hate myself. So Therian got to Bryce's apartment before her, which gave him time to talk with Ethan. Ethan wanted no part of it and was pissed him and Bryce were being dragged into this whole situation. He finally gets a little out of him, though, that Danika was doing research on something that would get her into big trouble, but later said she changed subjects, which didn't seem like her at all. She was relentless, and stopping something she was interested in just wasn't something that she would do. But that's all the info he knew. Ethan, worthless, knows nothing.
until next chapter.
I know.
Chapter 15. This is heavy history background lore, but it's all important. Bryce met up with Rune. She had intentionally sent Therian early to grill Ethan. Bryce spills the beans that Danika was a bloodhound, which now explains how Danika knew that they were siblings before everyone else. She asked if maybe that's why Sophie and Danika were connected, maybe using that for helping get her brother out of Kavala or something of that sort. Rune warns her to stay away from everything, especially if Ophion is on the hunt for a meal too. He also reminds her that the Asteri can 86 her from life for getting involved.
Because I can't help myself, I did look up what Ophion meant in Greek mythology. Ophion is a serpent in Greek myths, often depicted as the first ruler of the world. He represented the early powerful serpentine forces of creation emerging from chaos to rule Olympus until his boastfulness led to his banishment to the underworld. Now, Ophion in the galaxy is a group of recently discovered, unusually large family of 1,000 young stars rapidly scattering and moving apart as they move through the Milky Way. Possible causes being explored include a supernova explosion or gravitational interactions. Why do you think that Sarah picked this name for the rebels? When we learned about Thunderbirds, they mentioned one of their enemies was serpents, so maybe it's a nod to Sophie fighting them undercover. I don't there's a lot of potentials that could be why she chose this name. What rings a bell for you?
I feel like there's going to be some Twilight Gods situation. I do think like we're going to come down to like the gods. There's just so much with stars and space and like just the connections and like the way that the gods have left so much unfinished within multiple worlds. There's just got to be some like battle royale.
I 100% agree.
Maybe not a battle royale, but like there's some serious business happening with the gods.
I agree. And even like the part about the unusually large family of stars that are going, it made me think of Starfall. Like I know it's
Oh,
not, but like in my head I was like, that's an interesting little connection.
fucking stars. That's why it's gonna be. Because that name, Twilight, is so
I
specific.
know.
Bryce and Rune arrive at her apartment while Rune is reminding her that she is a power player now, being a horn bearing starborn princess with more power than the sexy Thotham king. Something wasn't right though. Ethan is like, hey girl, hey, pizza here. Sweet cat. Scared the shit out of me though. Bryce is like, that's not a cat, just as Hunt arrived. Ethan moved very fast. Therian went for a knife. Hunt had lightning at his fingertips, but Adis is like, I thought we were friends, Orion. Bryce's star chooses then to light up, and Bryce tells him it's good to see him. So the book says, behind her, a familiar ripple of ether laced power kissed over her skin, a small reassurance as Bryce croaked. See, the way that they sense each other as mates is just completely different every time. And when Ada says, hello, princess, Hunt's blood chilled. The demon prince purred the word with such intent, such delight, like he had some sort of claim on her. Hunt's lightning flared. Once again, more and more territorial. Ada's only said 2 words, and they weren't even menacing. Even at the end of this chapter, when Adis is wrapping it up there, sharing he knows his way into the world, he says, through my lovely Bryce and the horn on her back. Hunt suppressed a growl at the word my as all of them looked to her, watching him progressively be more and more alpha hole the closer they get to that bond snapping in place. Words are hard.
They are, but you did good.
But now that we've pointed it out, it really is interesting to watch. He really does get progressively, and I pointed out she does too later. I mean, I'm gonna
Well,
cut that, but
when you brought that up, it made me think about ACOTAR with Reese and Feyre, and the more when they were in summer court and then both getting so jealous beforehand, compared to when Reese just found out, and with Tamlin, obviously that broke his heart, but he was it was different compared to even little things with Tarquin. He was just couldn't handle it before the bond snaps in place.
so they're yeah, there's signs that they are mates, and usually there's the scent aspect, but
It
it's
took,
they're feeling each other's
yeah.
powers instead, and I love it. It's unique. Immediately, Adis is on Bryce's case about why she does not know how to use her powers yet. Bryce shows him her light tricks, and he's like, your real powers, your heritage. He goes on to say, with his eyes glowing like blue stars, I remember the last Starborn Queen Thea and her powers. Your light is her light. I'd recognize that I'd recognize that luster anywhere. I'm assuming you have her other gifts as well. Everyone is shocked that Adis knew her, and he says he knew the sniveling prince whose light you bear, Tarun. Bryce says that makes sense since Thea's eldest daughter, Helena, had the gift and married Peleus. Adis says that Peleus was no true prince, but a high general that appointed himself prince that after he forcibly wed Helena. They really love high in front of their names.
Mhm.
And we say this as the high fae housewives, but high, high king,
Yep.
high priestess, high general. They just want to be top dog.
Is that what we did? High fae housewives.
Yeah, we're on top now. Bryce and Queen Thea allowed this. Ada shares that she was dead at this point because Peleus slew her and stole the sword that Rune was holding and how it really belongs to the female heir. Adis then shares, your celebrated Prince Peleus, the so-called first starborn prince, was an imposter. Thea's other daughter got away, vanished into the night. I never learned of her fate. Peleus used the star sword and the horn to set himself up as a prince and pass them on to his offspring, the children Helena bore him through rape, the horn that happens to be on Bryce's back. Adis tells them Peleus's craven blood runs through their veins, and Rune points out so does Helena's, and Bryce asks why Adis is sharing this now. He shares that he was powerless to help then and arrived too late and outnumbered. After it was over, he asked his eldest brother for a favor to face Peleus on the battlefield and wipe him off the world. Adis did not want history to repeat itself, and then he asked, are you doing anything to help the endless war?
I apologize again, guys, for all of this Greek mythology. I mean, we all had something that was our Roman Empire as a kid, and Greek mythology was mine, and Titanic a little bit, but Theia in Greek mythology was a Titan goddess of sight, divine light, and the shimmering blue sky, daughter of Uranus and Earth, whatever, wife of her brother Hyperion. She is known as the mother of Helios, which sun, Selene, moon, and Eos was dawn, making her the source from which all celestial light proceeds, also lending the radiance to gold, silver, and gems. Now, her daughter was Helena, which would be a derivative of Helios, which we looked that up in the first book. And Selene is the daughter that went MIA. And then Dawn, well, we have a lot of Dawn options to choose from when it comes to names. So she didn't name her by accident, is my point. And then Peleus in Greek mythology was a classic villain. Like, he embodied greed and paranoia. And I'm not going to get into it, but if you read about how his daughters murdered him, it was like, it's hilarious. Like, truly. It's
The way this guy dies is so funny.
it is though, because it just I'm gonna butcher it, but essentially butcher it. One of the queen or like a goddess like tricks the daughters that says that if you butcher the sheep or something, that it will come back together. So then his daughters think that they can do that to Peleus, but they can't. So they literally butchered their dad, thinking that he could come back together, and he doesn't. So that's that. You're welcome, educational podcast. But night-haired Helena, from whose golden skin poured starlight and shadows. That sounds like someone we know in a different realm. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Therian asked if Adis meant the rebel cause, but Adis ignores him and shares that it is the same war they fought 15,000 years ago, only renewed. He told Hunt the same war, different font that he fought. That was a lot of F in there. He told Hunt the same war, different font that he had fought. Ethan is like, hell is our enemy. Adis asks, is it? And points out that the Asteri wrote their history. Erase Thea from record, the Library of Parthos is all that remains of the truth of the world before the Asteri. He pointed out that Bryce knew and protected the books for years and done nothing with the knowledge. Therian says the ancient humans and their gods dwelled here, and ruins under the sea. Adis again asks, where did the Asteri come from? The Fae? The Shifters? The Angels? Bryce wants to know why so many words when little work, but he tells her that her power isn't ready. Rune thinks this is all so Hel can get in while everyone is distracted at war with each other. But Adis tells Bryce it is her choice and always has been. Bryce is like, and sign up with Ophian? No, thank you. Adis is like, weird. There's an Ophian agent behind you. Everyone looks, and there was haughty cousin Cormac. Adis said, hello, Agent Silverbow, and then disappeared.
When Adis says, Hell's army shall strike at your command, Bryce Quinlan, it's your choice. It's always been your choice. Choice has always been such a huge thing in the Maasverse. Well, Aelin never really seemed to have a choice, the poor gal. Rhys was always big on giving Feyre a choice.
Even Nesta had the choice to be an absolute fucking bitch. And they let her be because that was her choice.
It was her choice. Oh, when he says you should have picked a more discreet location to meet with Fury ACOTAR, I wrote ACOTAR. We're just going to ignore that. What if this was him almost covering for Fury, and Fury reports to the Princess of Hell, and that's how they got the information?
What if she's a spy for them?
Right.
I mean, she definitely was bred for something.
Yeah. So what if that's part of what she does? Because she always seems to know what's going on.
How is somebody that in the know?
And maybe, yeah, just being bred to infiltrate that because they can't get in there. I mean, it makes sense. So, you guys thought I was done with Greek mythology today? I'm not. I'm really not. I looked up Silverbow because why wouldn't I? And it actually did not disappoint. So, Silverbow in mythology is a powerful symbol primarily associated with the Greek gods Apollo, god of sun, archery, and music, and his twin sister Artemis, goddess of moon, hunt, wilderness. Wow, kind of sounds like Luna and Deanna, representing their divine archery and power and connection to celestial bodies, with Apollo often wielding the silver bow to slay foes like Pythion, while Artemis also uses a similar silver bow as the leader of her hunters, embodying lunar magic and wild nature, which we know when they talked about in the beginning of House and Earth and Blood, that statue has silver bows, and we talked about in the last coverage. So Twilight of the Gods coming.
I believe it. I really do.
Chapter 16. Shooketh. Asshole Prince Cormac was Silverbow or Rebel. They couldn't believe it. They both really wanted to know what each other knew about Sophie Renass. Therian tells him he was asked to confirm her death. Hunt tells Cormac to calm the fuck down and explain some things if he wants to ever leave this apartment. First, how did he get in? And because, and I quote, it was warded to hell and back. And Cormac tells him the cat left a gaping hole in the wards. He says he came here because he believes they are hunting for the same person, Emile Renast, a chubby rat. Therian wants to know if Pippa sent him while he was like, no, that's why Emile fled. Pippa is a murderous fanatic. He was looking for Emile because he promised Sophie, who he was close with, wink, wink, that he would look after Emile. Cormac tells him that he joined Ophion because he thought it was the right thing to do and he would never turn them into the Stary. Cormac fills them in that Sophie had dirt on the Stary that was big, war-changing, and that's why the Hind killed her. Therian gives Cormac a little bit of hope that the body was never found, just lead blocks and shackles that had been unlocked. Therian explains the Danika connection and why he's trying to piece it all together. Cormac knew about Danika, which was why he came here and agreed to marry Bryce. That, and because Rune can mind speak, and Ophion needs someone with that skill. Plus, the way they all helped out with what happened last spring, he thought they would be great recruits. Cormac filled them in that Danika suspected something about the Stary and needed someone to go in and confirm those suspicions. Danika was connected with Ophion but worked independently. Bryce tells Cormac that she thinks Adis brought him here as a gift to her, and she wanted to make a deal. She wants out of the marriage, and they can team up to help find Emile, if he helps her with her starborn magic. But they need time to process it all. And as for what he wants with Rune, he needs to meet him at the bar to have a little chit chat.
Bryce says fuck you in this section, and her voice was low and deadly, and she's getting territorial of Hunt too.
Well, even remember in the beginning with Celestina, she was getting jelly belly because she was looking at pictures and stuff beforehand, and that wasn't her prior. So it's funny to watch until the bond's finally snapping in place.
It's like we're in on the secret.
We're like,
there's an exchange between Cormac and Hunt. Cormac says, beyond Sophie, beyond Emile, this world could be so much more. This world could be free. I don't understand why you wouldn't want that. And Hunt replies with, hard to enjoy being free if you're dead. Cormac opened the door, stepping into the swirling shadows. I can think of no better reason to yield my life. Knowing what we know happens to him at the end of the book, like literally what? Earlier in this chapter, there's an exchange between Therian and him, and the book says this about Cormac. Cormac's voice had gone low. His body shook as if he was restraining himself from leaping upon Therian. Embers sparked in his hair. Like he has fire magic that he doesn't really talk about. Then he has the tattoo of strange symbols encircled his left biceps, the black ink gleaming in the bright lights in chapter 9. Like, what the fuck, Cormac?
International man of mystery, Cormac. We have questions.
Yeah, like once again, spoiler alert at the end of the book, he blows himself up. But how does he know how to yield?
And the strange symbols on the left bicep is getting me a little bit. Strange symbols in like a word mark or what?
100%. I feel like that he has word marks tattooed on him. So I feel like he's got some sort of protection somehow. And yes, he dies at the end of this book, and we don't meet him again in the next book. But I'm wondering if, like, you know, there's a callback to him or something in like an afterlife.
Yeah, if he's able to like go elsewhere because of the word marks, even if he died. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Because, like, why point that out but give us nothing else for it? Why point out that he can yield? Like, why point out that he has fire magic, but we don't see any of it? Like, why all these secrets about Cormac and then we don't get more of him. This is worse than Vic.
The Vic always gets me with you. But
I don't know why it upsets me so much.
it really does. It doesn't upset me. She's in hell. We know it. We already solved that. But they say in this, the power of one asteri, the holy star glowing within them, could level an entire army. And more, I want to know the connection with High Lords and the Asteri, specifically our favorite High Lord. He had said in ACOTAR, like sometimes he thought about wiping out the whole world and starting over. Like the fact that he even has that power, we still don't know with Reese how powerful he is. And I just think that there's a connection here.
There's so much more to Reese.
I know. And I know there's the theories about Reese being Valg specifically. I just think he's so much more powerful. He's not to me. He's more powerful.
I have a lot to say about Valg, but I won't until book 3. But I do not think that Reese is Valg. That is fucking so chuckle worthy.
That's a huge thing.
Why that was my choice of words, I'm not sure, but
It's chuckle worthy. Just call you Chuckles. Yeah, no, that's a huge Instagram theory. So thanks for giggling through our journey with us today. We have new episodes every Tuesday. Join us next week as we get into chapters 17 through 24 for Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath.
make sure you follow us on social medias for our latest updates. Words are hard. Theories and more new book goofing. Don't forget to hit subscribe and give us a review wherever you listen. All links are in our info, you giggling gal pals. We'll see you next week.